Hello and welcome to Digi8.com. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on transactional model of communication. Now let's start with what is the transactional model of communication. In this model, the part context plays, the part senders and receiver play, and the conception of communication altogether form the transactional model of communication. The procedure where communicators create social realities within social, relational, and cultural contexts is known as the transactional model of communication. In this model, instead of being called senders and receivers, individuals who participate in communication are called communicators. In other words, communication doesn't just convey one's realities but also helps build them. Moving on to the aspect of context under the model. Context, according to the model, is a physical and psychological impact that either magnifies or obstructs the communication. Even though these impacts are crucial, this model concentrates more on how messages are conveyed and received. The transaction model of communication depicts communication as a power that builds one's reality before and after a particular communication takes place. Because of that, it must constitute contextual impacts outside of that particular communication. In order to do so, the transaction model must take into deliberation how social, relational, and cultural contexts depict and impact communication experiences. Moving on to the first context, social context. The established or unestablished rules and standards that give directions to communication are called social context. There are certain rules and standards of interaction that you will learn once you enter a profession, for example, healthcare. These norms are known as communication strategies and principles. Rules and standards associated with healthcare are staying calm in front of patients in difficult situations, maintaining a smile at all times, and ensuring the client is comfortable. Moving on to the next context, relational context. It involves the kind of relationship and any personal history the subject might have with an individual. The way a subject communicates with an individual they have known for a long time is different from the communication with an individual they just met. Interaction with someone the subject hasn't met before will be more scripted and guided by traditional rules and standards. For instance, a doctor must interact with patients formally due to the professional nature of their relationship. And finally, cultural context. Gender, sexual orientation, capabilities, class, ethnicity, etc. are some of the many parts of identity that cultural context involves. Some parts of cultural context can be established in a communication experience, whereas some may not be identified. Since many cultural aspects cannot be identified in an interaction, assumptions should be made by able communicators about knowing all the elements an individual brings to a communication experience. Most people whose cultural identities have been neglected in history are aware of how their identities impact others' interaction with them and vice versa. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on the transactional model of communication. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video.
Thank you and see you in the next video.